Sunday recap on a Monday morning. Once again, Kevin Bunk, joined by Michael Merlo. Every week, BTO Media. Couldn't get to this last night. No gambling live this morning from Mike and Bo. They'll be back Thursday with the weekly episode for Beat the Odds. We have plenty to go through today. We're going to take you through the entire Sunday slate with the exception of the Dolphins-Panthers game. We're not going to touch it. We want to give a little more content on other games, so we pass on that. Mike, good Sunday yesterday, not a great Sunday. We start in London where we started, where we will start again next week. We started in Ireland last week. The international games are full swing. Vikings, Browns, Minnesota needed this win, and they hardly get it.
They hardly get it. Absolutely needed it. You're playing in a tough division, and these teams are starting to play well. Detroit, obviously, really starting to play well. You had the Packers last week tie. They're on a bye this week. So Minnesota needed this win. They get it. And for the Browns, we know they have a very good defense. We know they're going to be able to compete with many teams. But this was a disappointing loss, I think, for a team that has struggled, obviously, this year, because this felt like a winnable game on a neutral site.
And you had Gabriel in for the first time this season. I thought he showed some signs of being able to just carry the torch this season and be able to navigate at the same level that Joe Flacco did. So we'll see if he continues to get better. But Minnesota here, we've had this conversation for the last 3 weeks now. I think it's time to go back to J.J. McCarthy once you get back to the States and get back on your regular schedule here. You're done with these Europe games. Now you can come back home. You can take the week and just go back to McCarthy, switch it back, because Wentz isn't the upgrade we thought he'd be at this point as a veteran quarterback, and you just got to see what you really have in McCarthy and give him as many games as possible this season.
Right. If McCarthy is healthy, then you got to go back to him, because Wentz in that first game, it looked like everything was flowing. It was really just the defense giving it to the Bengals in that first game. So unless Wentz gave you a serious upgrade, you have to go back to J.J. McCarthy. They will go back to J.J. McCarthy because they've invested a decent amount in him. You invested a first-round pick in him, so they need to see what they have going forward in JJ.
Really interesting year for rookie running backs, and none have looked better than Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah.
Cleveland. He looks awesome.
Questions coming into the year, too. Was he going to sign? Was he going to actually play? Was he going to be suspended? And he's been great for Cleveland.
We're going to talk about it a little bit later, too. But Browns fans, I think this was a brutal Sunday, and this will be the last point on this game because I don't want to give too much away, but you watch Dillon Gabriel, who's like your 86th quarterback since you traded for Deshaun Watson, and you just think about the state of this football team and how good the defense is and how close the losses are. You're 1-4, and you seem to be losing, every game but the Lions game by 1 score, and you beat Green Bay, but you just can't move the ball. The offense is terrible. And Baker Mayfield is just shredding NFL defenses now for the 3rd year in a row. Tough Sunday for a Cleveland Browns fan.
It's just like, where do you go? Because you feel like you have certain pieces there. And I think a lot of teams can have these questions as well. Do you have a coach? Do you have a GM? Or do you start over? Because you're not good, but you understand parts of your team are very good. Your defense is really good. You have some playmakers on offense. So what do you do? And I'm literally asking that question. Like, what would you do if you were Cleveland in their scenario when they end up being, 3 or 4 win team?
Yeah, just no idea. No idea, because we all think Stefanski's, a coach that you can certainly downgrade from. I don't know if I'd call him great at this point. We got to see, but he's won 2 Coach of the Years. Andrew Berry, I think, has overall done a pretty good job acquiring talent for Cleveland, but they botched this quarterback position royally, and it might cost them their jobs at the end of this season. Let's shift from one AFC North to another. We're not going to spend too much time on this Texans-Ravens game, but I had one point I want to make. The Ravens, who are now 1-4, really interesting storyline with them. Baltimore is still favored to win the AFC North. 1-4 is the record. Pittsburgh's 3-1, and I can understand the logic of the Steelers are only 2 wins ahead of them. It's a long season ahead still. We're only through 5 weeks. Could I see the Ravens winning 3 more games or winning 2 more and beating the Steelers twice? Yeah, I can see it. But at the same time, this Ravens team, especially on the defensive side of things, just does not have the feeling of a real division winner.
No, they don't. But I'll say this: if they could get Lamar back probably next week, then you're going to have a shot. And then defensively, they've been bad, but they're going to have to work things out. You're going to have to, offensively, it's going to have to be this juggernaut on offense. And, they may not win 11 games, but could 10 games win this division? I'd have to go through Pittsburgh's schedule, but can 10 games win this division for Baltimore?
I think you probably need to get to 11 to win. Baltimore plays the Rams next week in Baltimore. It sounds like Lamar is going to be out for that game.
That's a tough game too.
Because with or without him. And the week after, you get the bye. So it sounds like they're going to sit Lamar next week, go to the bye week, and then you lighten up after Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, Jets, Bengals without Burrow, and then you have a tough last 5 weeks. Pittsburgh twice, the Patriots, the Bengals probably with Burrow, and the Packers in those final 5 weeks, not in that order. So, interesting state of affairs for Baltimore.
After those buys, it sounded about whatever you said, 5 or 6 straight wins, though.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like
5 or 6 straight wins.
It sounds like home against Chicago with Lamar, you win. At Miami with Lamar, you win. At Minnesota, they probably can win that game on November 9th. At Cleveland, you probably win, and home against the Jets, and then home against Cincinnati without Burrow. That is 6 straight wins right there. Maybe the Minnesota game doesn't go your way on the road, but
5-1 at worst.
So Baltimore's still in a good spot here. Panic time sets in if they're 1-5 next week, because then the margin for error is completely gone. Let's shift over to the Colts and Raiders. I had them as a lock of the week. Indianapolis. The Raiders are really bad. I don't know which direction you want to go in first.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had the Raiders plus 7.5 yesterday. It's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But, yeah, this was just a game where the Raider, I mean, obviously we know about the Geno Smith interceptions. He had 2 yesterday. So that's clearly continuing. Daniel Jones was incredibly efficient yesterday. And Jonathan Taylor looks like the best running back, if not the best running backs in football. So they are absolutely rolling. The Raiders make mistakes. The Raiders can't block to save their lives. And this is something I should have saw coming.
Is Daniel Jones a top 3 MVP candidate if the season ended today?
No.
At 4-1, third in yards, first in QBR. He only has 2 interceptions. He's got 6 passing touchdowns now. He is right in the mix, Mike, for potential MVP talks in week 5. 9 touchdowns. He's third in yards, first in QBR. They're 4-1. I know you don't want to go there.
It's not.
But this is where we are.
It's Baker. You could put Dak in there. You could put you could argue say Justin Herbert. Obviously, Josh Allen's a big favorite. No, he's not top 5.
Jones looks really good.
He does. No, I'm not.
I know what you're saying.
Not taking it away from him.
Looks really good. And we're gonna do this game next with the Giants, but you can tie it together. No, Giants fans don't want to hear this, and I know that I was as big an advocate as anybody to getting rid of Daniel Jones last year when they did. But you have to really, really be critical of Joe Shane and Brian Daboll's inability to have given him a chance after paying him to have an offense that looks like this.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is it's easier when you're paying him $13 million as opposed to $40 million. But yes, there should have been more of more talent around him, more stability around him to give him a chance to succeed. He had the top 5 running back here. He never really had the big time wide receiver besides last year for a little bit. So they don't really have that either, though. But they never had the offensive line. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to see this.
Of course it is. And the Giants are not the only team going through this. We have more points to talk about later in the Seattle-Tampa game about young quarterbacks. But on the other side of this game, when do we start talking about Pete Carroll's first year in Vegas being a complete disaster? Because they're horrible. Their offseason looks terrible. The Geno Smith trade and extension looks horrendous. Ashton Genty at 6, a running back who I think is really talented, is not the franchise changing pick, considering what's around him and what this offense is made up of. The Raiders feel like as much of a mess as anybody in the league right now.
They do. They play in a tough division. We know that. And you go and get Carroll to give yourself some stability here. And it's the only thing you don't have is stability. They don't have an offensive line. They don't have a quarterback going forward. Where's the young talent besides Genty on this team? Point out a guy that you feel good about going forward that is young, that is in the first few years of their career.
It's just Bowers and Genty.
Just Bowers and Genty. Crosby's up there in age. So this front office, the coaching staff, they're not doing a good job. Their offensive line is terrible. And it is so frustrating to watch that team, man. So frustrating to watch that team.
Yeah, really, really bad. How about the Giants and the Saints yesterday? Yeah. I mean, you had to have been ripping your hair out.
Yeah, because you go up 14-3. The two of us were at the Jet game, so I had this on my phone. And, we go up 14-3, the 2 touchdown drives. I was like, oh, this is going to work. Like, this offense works with Dart. He made a really nice pass to Johnson on the second touchdown. I was like, yeah, I was pumped. And then they turned the ball over on their last 5 possessions of the game. According to Mike Francesa, the last team to do it was the Jets a little while ago.
It was against the Chiefs, 2016, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I remember the game perfectly.
9 years ago, the last team to do it. Of course, it was us two. And you're sitting here saying the season's over at 1-4 because you're going to be 1-5 after the Eagles bury you on Thursday because they need a get-right game. So the season's over. You don't have Malik Neighbors. What is Jackson Dart going to show you in this season that allows you to keep Brian Dable or Joe Shane? Probably not much without Neighbors. I mean, this is about to be, and this is why this game was so big, because if they won yesterday, we'd be sitting here pumped up 2-3. Let's go. And the fact that they lost, I really do think the sky's falling on this administration.
Some of these Dart turnovers yesterday were just disgusting. So gross. He did not look good. He had a really nice start to the game. And after that, I don't know how you feel good at all about where this team is offensively at all. I mean, the Saints are terrible. And you lose this game, you had a chance to be relevant going into Thursday night, and you're just not.
No, you're not. You're done. And the turnovers were bad. Slayton fumble. Scatabo fumble from Dart, and the 2 interceptions from Dart. It was really bad. Looked like he was just chucking the ball up at will. Missed a couple of big throws. Dayball mentioned it, the flea flicker. You had texted me the same thing right after it happened. They got to hit him on that play. You got to throw it over the safety there. That's a touchdown. If you get
you got to hit that
throw there.
You got to hit
21-6, and it's a completely different ball game in that scenario. So yeah, that hurt. All that hurt.
Other side of things for the Saints, I actually think Rattler is a starting quarterback. He's not a franchise guy, but he looks a lot better this year than I had anticipated.
Yes, he does. The last few weeks, they've really started to play good competitive football. That's what I guess, new head coach, new regime here with Mr. Kellen Moore over there. Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator, they panned to him a lot yesterday. They got Taysom Hill back yesterday as well. But Rattler looked good, looked comfortable. Turnovers obviously helped them. But these were 2 bad football teams playing each other, Kevin. And I think that was evident.
Absolutely. We can move off this game and go to the other New York football game. Jets look absolutely dead against the Cowboys. Good for Dallas, moving to 2-1 now. No offensive line. They had no problem. This was an embarrassing game. You were there firsthand for this Jet experience.
Yeah, it was really embarrassing knowing they had no offensive line, knowing they really didn't have many receivers besides Turpin and or Tolbert and Pickens. And Ferguson, obviously, had a big day. This was embarrassing for the New York Jets. Their defense is terrible. Their offense couldn't do anything against a really bad defense, might I add, in Dallas. So this was just ugly. The place was 50-50, maybe more Cowboy fans. The Jet fan is completely given up, and I don't blame them. And I think as somebody who loves Aaron Glenn, who thinks Aaron Glenn is going to be a good head coach or was going to be a good head coach, when do we start to have the conversations like this is going so far backwards and it's not getting any better anytime soon? I understand this is going to be a long rebuild. I'm not saying we should see instant progress here, but like there's nothing. They're getting worse.
Aaron Glenn feels a lot like Gerard Mayo right now. And, you have a former player for the organization who was a really good ambassador, good on the field guy, played during some really good years. And all the fan base wanted was for him to come back and be that guy that turns it around and gets them back to relevance. But one and done is completely on the table for Aaron Glenn and this regime now, because you got to look forward right now. They're the only team with no wins in football. If they are in a position where they're picking first in the NFL draft, do you really trust these guys after being the worst team in the league with a fairly easy schedule and the way it's looked? I get that the roster's not good. I get he doesn't have much to work with. They should not look like the worst team in the NFL. And they do, and nobody else looks close. Do you trust these guys to make the first pick in the draft if that's where you are in January? And that's going to be a tough conversation to have for everyone involved if that's the position you actually sit in 4 months from now.
Well, if they win 2 games, I understand 0-17 is a lot more embarrassing than 2-15.
Yeah.
If they win 2 games, do you trust them to do it?
It depends how it looks.
What's your cutoff line?
It depends how it looks. I don't know. And you got to also see who else is available. Who's is there this quarterback that emerges in the next 8 weeks of college football that is clearly a top pick?
Is the number 1 overall pick today a quarterback? If the Jets,
I don't think it is. I think it's the kid Bain, the defensive end from
Yeah.
Miami. I don't think it's a quarterback because there's so many. Is Lenoris Sellers going to be in the draft? Yeah. He's probably the consensus one out of the quarterbacks right now. Is Nussmeier going to finish the year strong? There's a lot of questions with these guys. A quarterback class that 10 weeks ago looked really good looks very average right now, similar to last year's, where your top pick is a guy that you're saying like, I'm normally okay with taking him around 11 or 12, and we're taking him 1.
Right.
So they're in a tough spot, man, because all of the stuff that Glenn preached, if you were losing games the way you lost in week 1, and there's just a lot of close affairs, and it's, you're going blow for blow, and you look like you're really trying and like you're mostly prepared, that's a different story. They have not looked like that since week 1.
No. It's penalties, it's stupid mistakes, it's turnovers, and it's not how the hell have they not created a turnover?
That's so bad.
How is that possible?
The only thing that's like close to it is the Will McDonald blocked field goal. And that's not a turnover.
Right.
And their fumble numbers this year, there's been, whether it's they lost the fumble or they forced the fumble,
they don't
like 15 fumbles, and the other team has recovered 13 of them, I think, and the Jets have recovered 2 of their own.
Yeah.
It's just a disaster. It's a complete disaster.
It's bad. It's bad. That stadium yesterday was filled with Cowboy fans, and you expect it. If it was a Giant game, you'd expect something similar as well. But that was bad. That was really bad. And Dallas didn't even it was just like easy for Dallas yesterday offensively. It was too easy.
It was. And the last point I have on the Jets, Justin Fields is not good at all, and he still has this cult following in the NFL where people are now putting the stats out there and saying Justin Fields has not been the problem with the Jets. He's actually given them really good quarterbacking this year. It's all garbage time. They're out of games for 3 quarters. They're down by 20 plus, and he starts putting stats in. This has been a story for 4 weeks now. Week 1, he went blow for blow with Pittsburgh. But since then, they haven't been in a game.
It's actually funny. If you do look at his stat line, it actually looks pretty good.
It looks good. And they led against Tampa Bay with Tyrod Taylor. And you never, ever thought they were winning. They led under 2 minutes in the 4th. You never thought they were winning that football game.
No.
It's that bad. I'm just going to pull up Fields' stats right now because I actually don't.
Yesterday, it was 32 of 46, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 100 passer rating.
Yeah, and you're looking at his stats and considering he didn't finish the Buffalo game and he didn't play the Tampa Bay game, it's pretty good. It's statistically pretty good if you're a box score watcher. Just 754 yards, 31st in the league, but again, missed a game and a half.
Right.
4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. He's 22nd in QBR. It's statistically probably the best passing year of Fields' career, but on the ground, he's also got 204 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he lost a fumble, but he's not good.
He's also got one of the worst played games I've ever seen, maybe ever, in week 2.
Yeah, week 2 was a disaster for him. So Jets obviously don't have their quarterback. I think if you watch the games, you know that.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to some of the better games of the week. You have the Broncos and Eagles. 4-0 Philly gets knocked off their first loss in what feels like a calendar year. And they now get, the Broncos, who have a chance to be 4-2 next week. They play the Jets in London, 21-17. This is a huge win for Denver.
Huge win for Denver. Finally looking like that team as a whole, like they did last year, playing really good complementary football. That happened fast in Philly. That happened. And Jim Nantz or Tony Romo said that. I just rewatched the game. They said that, and it's so true. How they got to score, got the ball back, got to score, got the 2-point conversion, bang, you're up 1. And you have Philly on their heels now, and their defense did an unbelievable job yesterday. Barkley, again, they can't get Barkley going in the running game. They had the receiving touchdown, but they can't get Barkley going at all right now. So give credit to Denver. Sean Payton, after a shaky start, didn't look great. He's got his guys rolling right now. They're playing really good football, and they are serious contenders here for this division.
And now for Philly, what does this week look like narrative-wise around the team? Because you had the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith story last week. Neither of them are happy with their roles. They couldn't really get Saquon going on the ground. He still has a really, impactful game with the big receiving touchdown, but they couldn't get him going too much on the ground. And it feels like this offense in Kevin Patullo's first season calling the plays is not what it was last year. And I don't want to push the Jalen Hurts panic button and stir the crowd up because I like Jalen Hurts a lot. And I've said I think he's great so many times. I'm not backing off that now. But Kevin Patullo has me very concerned as a play caller. And this would not be the first time we saw this happen with Nick Sirianni or with Howie Roseman's Eagles, where they have trouble replacing the play caller.
Right, especially when you had so much success with them like they did with Kellen Moore last year. It does feel eerily similar to that 2023 year where they're not winning these games in dominant fashion offensively. They're not, again, the receivers aren't playing great. You're having issues with getting certain guys going. So it is eerily similar. I do think they're a little better just because this year involves Saquon Barkley. But I would still be a little concerned at the fact that you can't get him going in the running game right now with that offensive line.
No, you can't. And if Philly can't run the ball in dominant fashion, whether that's Hurts, whether that's Shipley, whether that is Saquon, I mean, you're not going to win the way you want to.
Hurts did nothing yesterday in the running game.
I think next week, I don't know who they play the Giants on Thursday.
Yeah.
Giants on Thursday. Is that game in Philly?
No, it doesn't matter, but it's set.
Yeah. But either way, so if I'm Kevin Patullo, what I'm saying this week is, I think we can run the ball against the Giants. I think we can win against the Giants doing the run heavy, chew the clock thing we've been doing all year. But let's try and just develop a really quick passing plan for this week against the Giants, who do not have a good secondary, whose pass rush has seemed a little overrated through this start of the season. And I'm going to say, let's try and complete 25 passes, try and have 18, 19 of them come really efficiently around the line of scrimmage, and just have a good game plan for throwing the football this week, no matter who it's to. If that's to your running backs, that's fine. But I want to see Hurts distribute the ball this week. I want to let him play a little point guard. And that would be the best thing moving forward for Philly because their offense really has stalled and could really use a week of just trying to get it to your playmakers.
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried to do that. This maybe not the quick passing game, but they tried to get it to those guys. Clearly, I mean, Devonta Smith had a big game. Trying to just get 8 targets for AJ Brown on 5 catches. So they clearly went into this game saying, "Okay, we got to get these guys involved." And I guess they went away from the run attack, run heavy offense, and they lose the football game. It probably pisses them off that they switch up the game plan a little bit. They lose the game because they're trying to make these guys happy. I wonder if that is a topic right now in that locker room.
It could be. It absolutely could be. That's a great point. Also with Philly, what was I just going to say? Don't remember. And so that's it because I don't remember. Big game for them Thursday against the Giants. Have to go out and win it. Because if you lose to the team that just lost to the Saints,
you got problems.
Then there's a serious panic button narrative going down. Saints weren't the only winless team to pick one up this week. The Titans get their first win of the Cam Ward era. Bad loss for Arizona. This is what I was going to say about Philly, because I do want to make this point. Philly with A.J. Brown, did you see the clip of Brown stopping in the middle of that route? That would have been a touchdown.
I did not see that.
So there's a clip of Brown runs a great route, and then over the middle of the field, about 35 yards downfield, Hurts throws it to him, and Brown stops running once he gets open, turns his head, sees the ball's coming, tries to sprint. He falls about 4 yards short of it. And it was just a really bad moment for A.J. Brown, who obviously has been disgruntled, who obviously has voiced those opinions and complaints in that locker room. And Hurts threw him a money ball, and he just started jogging at the top of this route. It was really bad. If you get a chance to see it, go check it out. But that might have lost Philly the game. Because
here it is. Yeah. Oh, my God. That is so bad.
That's a really bad one because you're the guy who has been campaigning for the ball and really bargaining for the ball. Really bad moment.
He just stops. He just died, and he's completely beat him, too.
Yep. Would have been a touchdown.
That's really bad.
Let's go Titans Cardinals really fast. Titans get their first win. I just, with Arizona, so many dumb mistakes. The interception that turns into a Titans touchdown and dropping the ball at the goal line. Like, how many guys have to do this? Hold the ball until you're in the end zone. Why are we dropping it at the goal line?
It's incredible. Good for Cam Ward. Late in that game was really good. And, like they shouldn't have been in the game. Arizona completely chokes this game. But good for Cam Ward and the Titans get their win. This Arizona experiment, like, when is it done with Kyler Murray? When do they finally say, you know what? This just, like, they feel so weird. Like, they're in their own little bubble over there in Arizona with Kyler Murray. And they do things, like, this is just a me thing. They're so different than everybody else. And you could almost just feel it all afternoon long that they were going to blow that game.
Now, the problem for them, too, is they're never going to be bad enough with Kyler to get his replacement.
No.
You'll never be in a spot in the draft until you get rid of him and essentially tank, where you feel like we have a really good situation to replace him right now, get cheap on the contract, and just move on. They're in a terrible spot. Gannon, I think, gets fired after the season.
I was going to say, I think I was going to have that as an overreaction or something along those lines. At least Marv is getting going a little bit. 4 for 98 yesterday.
Yep, Marv's starting to get going. Almost had a touchdown down at the 1 yard line. So he starting to look like, worthy of being a top receiver.
It was DeMercado, right? Was the one that dropped the ball.
Really bad. Really bad. Good for the Titans. Good for Cam Ward. Gets the win. Buccaneers, Seahawks, this lived up to it, 38-35. Darnold and Mayfield, just sensational. Sensational. These guys are awesome.
They were great. A bad interception from Darnold late. Nope. Bad. It ruins it basically for them. But yeah, I was on Seattle here. Thought I was on the right side. They both played an exceptional game. Baker, I'm going to save that for overreaction. But man, these offensively, the young receivers, Ibuka is so good. JSN is so freaking good. These guys, man, so much talent all over the field. And Darnold and Baker, 2 guys that were completely given up on, getting a big time chance. And with their young receivers, with guys banged up, and we know the injuries for Tampa, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for Baker at all. They're able to go win a football game on the road out west in a tough place to play.
Yeah, it's just, I love Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
and I mentioned it with the Browns earlier, but think about the teams that have let this guy walk out the door now. You have a Carolina team that is just suffering after Cam Newton for the last decade. A Browns team who has just been suffering at quarterback for 60 years. Since they had Otto Graham in the 50s, this team literally has not had a franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And Mayfield has provided Tampa Bay with not only a good bridge guy for 3 or 4 years, this is maybe their quarterback for the next 5, 6, 7 seasons. He is great. Objectively great.
His stat line, 29 of 33, 380 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 134.7 passer rating. Then you look over to the other side, and like Darnold was great too. And Darnold's on the cheap. Both of these guys aren't really making much money. I mean, I know Tampa just rewarded Baker with a little bit of an extension, but like Darnold gets 3 years, $100 million. That is a bargain right now for the way he's been playing the last few weeks. So it is fun to watch these guys play. It was easily my favorite game of the day yesterday. Easily.
Yeah, it's such a great game. And how about the uniform matchup? Quick love to the uniforms.
Can't get better than that. It doesn't get better than that.
It couldn't get any better. Let's just skip these next 2 games. Lions, Bengals. Good win for the Lions. Commanders, Chargers. Good win for the Commanders. Chargers, are you a little bit worried about them yet?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is I'm a little concerned now these last 2 losses that got off right away with the Ladd touchdown, get him going a little bit. But, you know, I'm certainly concerned about this Charger team, especially with the way that we've seen the Chiefs play now. And the Broncos look like they're back 3-2. They're going to be at a virtual tie, basically, for this division. So I do have some concerns, like what the hell happened yesterday and what the hell's going on, because I don't think the Commanders are very good, and they look dominant yesterday.
I think that, you know, they have a nice get right next week against Miami. Another Tua Herbert game. But for the Chargers, they just look like a shell of the first 3 weeks without Joe Alt, without Becton. Obviously, Slater's out for the season, so tough stuff. Drake May last night. This was the Drake May game that we'd all been waiting for. Everyone like me who was critical of May, it's over now. He is the guy in New England. And whether he's great or very good or just good, he's their quarterback. And they just went into Buffalo last night so well prepared on both sides of the ball. All 3 phases, so well prepared. They were almost cost again by a Ramondre Stevenson fumble. But the Vrabel-May pairing, the head coach quarterback duo, feels like, after last night, a decade-long guarantee in New England.
It looks really good. You know, for somebody that loved May out of college, the first year here, I was kind of like, you know, we had talked about it week 1. It didn't look great. And we're like, what the hell's going on here? But the last few weeks, I mean, it starts with the game actually against the Steelers where they lost and they turned the ball over, 5 times in that game, 4 times, handed the game to Pittsburgh. And I came away saying he looked good in that game. Like, he was good. And then the same thing happened last week when they kicked the crap out of the Panthers. And now this week on the biggest stage against the best quarterback in football. Did you see the UNC stuff this morning?
Yes, I did. They can't post.
They did post.
They did?
They did post. They made a post. Bill Belichick said no Drake May posts. And they ended up posting. They were getting killed for it for about a half hour to an hour. And then like right before we came on, probably 30 minutes before we came on, they had posted.
You know what's so dumb with Belichick? I was texting about this in the group chat this morning with Jack Lydon in it, obviously a Patriots guy.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about, you know, you're the coach of a college football program that has given you a lot of resources to try and turn this around to be a contender in the ACC. And you are trying to halt your team from posting that you have a really good NFL quarterback who was just at your school 3 years ago. You're trying to halt Patriots scouts from coming to practices and home games. It's 32 teams in the league, man. You're cutting one of them out of these guys' lives. And you should have been like, I remember Pete Carroll was talking about the staff at Washington football last year. University of Washington football had Pete Carroll's son on the staff, and Steve Belichick was the defensive coordinator. And he was at a practice, and someone just asked him about having those NFL connections. And he said, I'm here all the time. Bill's here all the time. You want a place that can connect you to the NFL? This is the school. And now UNC, who should be the ultimate NFL connection for players, is the furthest thing from it.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and also look at it from UNC's side as well. This guy's your best marketing tool. This guy came from your school. This guy looks like he's the next great quarterback, young great quarterback in this league. And you're going to completely cut ties with that, with this kid who could be such a great ambassador for the school, whose family is royalty at the University of North Carolina, from what I was reading. Dad played quarterback. Brother was a big player a few years back on the team that won a national championship. Like, you're going to cut ties with that family because of your hatred for the New England Patriots. Seriously?
It's really bad.
Figure it the hell out, Bill. But
we mentioned one and done guys here twice today.
Yeah.
I think if you have one in college, it's Bill Belichick.
It's got to be. They got to cut ties. They have to cut. This is
and I think he's going to get to a point at the end of the year where he's going to be like, this is just not for me.
This is, I don't get it, man. You know what? Sometimes, the old computer, I was thinking about it yesterday. The old computer, it dies out. It doesn't work anymore. It's not in. I got my old computer right here. This guy doesn't work anymore. He's slow. There's not a lot of storage on it. This guy is the real deal here. He's fast. That's Bill. That's Bill.
Let's go to overreactions and wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
Week 5 Sunday recap. Your first overreaction from the Week 5 Sunday slate.
I got killed over the summer because when we first started the BTO gambling page, I threw out an MVP pick. And I gave out somebody that had crazy odds, but I didn't want to take one of the favorites. And I was like, why not sprinkle Baker Mayfield for the MVP, right? I mean, this guy has all the weapons in the world. He has succeeded in every single year he's been there with Tampa Bay, with new offensive coordinators and whatnot. So let's just take a look at the stats right now for Baker Mayfield. 1,200 yards, 1,283 yards, 10 touchdowns, 1 pick, passer rating of 104.4, and a completion percentage of 65.1. Probably your MVP right now. Him or Allen are your MVP right now. At 4-1, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think that take was wrong. I think Baker, through 5 weeks, is the MVP.
Yeah, and I could totally see it. I love Baker, obviously. And if the season ended today, I'd probably give him my vote. I'm going to just go in a different direction. Similar thing. I've been sitting on this since Thursday. And I know we don't do overreactions usually on Thursday Night Football for the Sunday recap. But I had a feeling you were going to go here with Baker because of that video. So I threw in an MVP pick of my own. Went through some stats, and I was just infatuated with Matthew Stafford on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. And Stafford's pacing right now, along with a lot of these guys. Mayfield's in the same boat. Jared Goff's in the same boat. But to have like a 40 touchdown, 45 touchdown, 6 interception season. And I just think the Rams passing offense looks so good. I'm going to say Stafford gets an MVP, and I think would be the 3rd oldest MVP in NFL history. At 37 years old right now.
Yep.
I think Stafford's going to end up having one of those years where he leads the league in yards right now, but like 5,000 yard season or 4,900 yard season, 45 touchdowns and like 6 turnovers.
Wow. He is great. I mean, the stat that I had sent the other day too about him being the guy that, most, if Puka breaks the receptions record again this year, the yards record, he'll be the guy to throw to all 3 of the guys that have broke it the last 3 times. So that is just sick from Stafford, and he's the freaking man.
It's the best. Your next overreaction.
We kind of hinted at it before. I had this down already. I think the Cardinals completely clean house. Like, this is bad, and I think they're going to try and see what they can do with the Kyler Murray contract, whether or not they can move, because I think they need a reset. There's some talented spots here. There's some talented players. And then there's spots where there's nothing. They need a complete overhaul from the top to the bottom. And whether they get rid of Kyler this offseason or not, I think they'll explore it if they can, if the contract allows it. But there's a complete cleaning of house in Arizona after this season.
I'm going to just throw this out there as a crazy week 5 hypothetical for the offseason. If the Jets got the first pick and you don't love the quarterbacks, and the Cardinals had like the 13th pick, could you justify, if you're the Jets, calling the Cardinals and getting Kyler Murray and the 13th pick and giving them the first? And could you justify it as Arizona?
I don't know if you could justify it as Arizona.
Yeah. Because you're still giving up a good quarterback and a first-round pick for...
Because they have to love a quarterback, and you have to not love a quarterback.
Well, that's the scenario, is like they think they can get a quarterback. The Jets think that they'd be able to, build a team around Kyler Murray the way the Lions did with Jared Goff, if they're keeping Muji and Glenn.
Right.
And they say, we don't love these quarterbacks. The Cardinals like a guy. Let's go send the first for that contract, and we'll get the 13th pick.
Interesting.
It would never happen, I don't think.
Crazy scenario, though.
But
if they had more belief in Glenn, if Glenn showed you something, and maybe there was more power there for him and Muji, I think they'd be able to pull it off. Remember, you got to make a trade for a contract now as well with Kyler and continue to pay him. So probably pay him on top
3
of
years
that.
left on that deal after this year too. You can opt out in 2029, I believe. Ooh. So it's a commitment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go a little crazy here. After week 5, this has to do with the Bills' loss also. I think the Colts get the 1 seed in the AFC. They are in an easy division with an easy schedule. Buffalo runs the gauntlet still. They're going to have tough games coming up in the second half of the season. I think the Colts can go on a run here and win 13, 14 games and win this division, and then be one of those playoff teams similar to the Titans with Mike Vrabel, where you don't know if they're going to go any further than the 1 seed and that bye, but they might be able to just rip through the regular season and get it.
Cardinals, Chargers, Titans, Steelers, Falcons until the week 11 bye for the Colts. Maybe you have a loss in there, 2 losses in there, and then they come out of it Chiefs, Texans, Jaguars, Hawks, Niners, Jaguars, Texans. So a lot of division games to wrap it up. We'll see. It's not an easy schedule, but it's also not a overly difficult schedule to finish the year there for the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. Your final overreaction.
My final overreaction is that I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be the 1 seed in the NFC, because when you look at the division, when you look at the schedule, the division's done, right? The division is completely wrapped up. So it's another scenario with the Colts here, where the schedule is just going to be easy and the division's done, and you have the Lions in a really tough division, and you have the Eagles in a tough division, and who the hell knows what's going to happen to them now. And the Rams and the Niners and the Hawks. I think the Seahawks might be my other overreaction. The one I was debating was the Seahawks are the best team in the NFC West, but I didn't go there. But the Seahawks are great too, and they're the 3rd place team.
Yeah, it's a tough week to go there after the Niners win and with how good the Rams have looked, but I thought about it too.
I was gonna go there. I almost went there.
I could see him winning. I could see him winning the division.
I don't know if I could see them.
I can see any of the 3 teams winning the division.
And I think the Niners are the worst. You know what? This is the overreaction. The Niners might win the division as the worst team in the NFC West because of how easy that schedule is.
I think Arizona's definitely worse.
Out of the 3, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Out of the 3,
I could agree with
definitely
that.
Worse because look at how easy their schedule is. And I love Shanahan, and I give him so much credit for what he's done with Mac Jones. But man, Seattle's really good.
Yep.
Full, complete team. The Niners have issues. The Rams don't have the same issues the Niners have. The Niners got injury issues. They coming into the year, they had issues with their receivers. Their offensive line wasn't great coming into the year. The back end of the defense wasn't shored up coming into the year. So I love the Rams and the Seahawks so much.
I'm going to jump to my final overreaction here, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Just gave like 6 overreactions in that one.
Yeah, you gave like 7 or 8 there. I think the Patriots win 12 games, and I was not in on them before the season. I had them at 8 wins. I was not totally in on Drake May. Let me read this upcoming schedule to you. Saints, Titans, Browns, Falcons, Buccaneers. That's potentially 4-1. They then play at home on a short week against the Jets. That's 5-1 over that stretch. At Cincinnati, no Browning, could be 6-1. Home against the Giants, could be 7-1 in their next 8 games. Home against Buffalo, I'll give them the loss. I think it's going to be tough to sweep Buffalo, even though you have the home game. On the road against Baltimore, I'll even throw them the loss there too. Win the last 2 weeks, Jets and Dolphins. That's 10 wins to end the season. That's 13 wins if they win all 10 of those games. I think that they'll probably drop one that they're supposed to win. So I'm going to put them at 12 wins for the rest of the year.
Pretty sure I had 12. I think I had 9-3 in that right there.
Okay, so maybe it was, yeah,
9.
but you see it. Whatever. I might have messed up the math there too. But that's a really easy schedule for a team that just showed a lot last night.
It is, and when you're well coached like that, when you have a guy like Vrabel, yeah, it's absolutely possible. Patriots are back. It's good for football. It's good, not good for you. Good for football.
I'd be stunned if they missed the playoffs. That's the floor reaction here. I'd be stunned if they missed the playoffs. Let's wrap up the show here, October 6th. So it was a Monday recap. We appreciate you sticking with us and listening on this Week 5 edition of the recap. We'll be back maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, talk a little baseball. Yankee season looks like it's going to end in the next couple of days. So we'll jump on, do a Burrows or a bunker or something and figure that out and go through all that when we get there. But embarrassing weekend from the Yankees. They have a day off today. We'll pick up baseball tomorrow. Appreciate you sticking with us for football. Make sure to follow the social medias, BTO Media, Instagram, TikTok, Playbook, Instagram, TikTok. Watch Gabe's live tomorrow during the Yankee game. He's been great during those. Great companion to watch with during those games. Good insight, good stuff. All right, thanks for watching. We're going to wrap up here, and we'll see you next week on the Sunday recap. Same time as normal, 7:30 on Sunday. We're back in that slot.